Okay, this next video will be for an oversized top. So trace off a straight line for center front, and then we're going to line up our top torso sloper with that line and trace that off. This one is supposed to start with our minimal stretch, which is the largest lines, least amount of stretch, and then you go oversized from there. I don't have a minimal stretch half scale, so this one is technically for very stretchy, super stretchy. It's the same process. We're just starting with a little bit smaller sloper. So if you were doing this full scale, you would start with your minimal stretch and grow from there. But I just don't have that in half scale. Okay, I'm gonna grab off my markings, so that underarm guide and my arm notch. And then the other marking that I need to grab off, it's not on this particular half scale, is my midpoint of my arm's eye. So we're gonna grab it off of this. So what I'm gonna do is take this is the two-way half scale sloper. I'm just gonna line her up on center front, match up those shoulder corners. Your neckline will be a little bit different slope. They just came from different resources. But I'm gonna match up that shoulder corner and center front, and then I'm gonna grab off this midpoint where that HBL is, okay? So I've already grabbed it off on here, and I labeled it C just because that's what the book does. The midpoint. So on this half scale, it's this midpoint. It's not really a notch, but it's a match point, where that HBL line is. So that's the midpoint of your arm's eye. You're gonna need that marking, and since it's not on this little half scale, I just pulled it off of this one. Okay, so, and then like I said, I labeled it C just because that's what the book labels it as. So trace that off onto your paper as well. Okay. I've got that underarm guide pulled off of my sloper. And now we are going to start creating guides for ourselves. So we've got our HBL at that underarm, and then 2 inches down from that, so in half scale, it's gonna be 1 inch down. We're going to create another guide going across the piece. So that's 2 inches full scale, 1 inch half scale. So this top one, for the purposes of this, we're gonna call it our horizontal line. And the bottom one, we're just gonna call a guideline. Now, we're going to mark our shoulder point 1 inch over, so we're going away from center front, 1 inch over, and it's gonna be parallel with this horizontal line. So we're gonna stay parallel with that line, and we're going 1/2 inch in half scale and mark that shoulder. So again, keep it parallel to that horizontal line, and you're just going out on that shoulder 1/2 inch in half scale, 1 inch in full scale. And then we're gonna mark our underarm. Our underarm is going to be marked on this guideline that we marked, that's 1 inch, 2 inches below the horizontal line, depending on if you're doing half scale, full scale. We're gonna go over 2 inches in full scale, so that'll be 1 inch in half scale. So go right on that guideline, 1 inch out, mark it, Mine's running into my letters, so it's a little bit hard to see right here. So just went 1 inch out and marked that. Okay. From that point down, we get to kind of decide what the bottom of this shirt is going to look like. So most of the time it's a pretty straight side seam, and we can lengthen this shirt as well, however much we want. So I'm just going to add an inch to the length. I'm going to switch to red so we can see. So you get to determine the length, and then you really get to determine what the side seam looks like. So if you want a little bit of shape in that side seam, you can. Otherwise, it's just straight up and down. From that marking that you have on the guideline down to the hem. Okay, now we need to grab our original sloper again, and this time we're going to shift her over to match up that shoulder corner with where we marked the new shoulder. So keep your horizontal line straight so you know that you're staying straight. Scoot her over, and we're going to trace from that shoulder corner down to that C midpoint that we took off of our other sloper. And this one, if you remember, is positive ease. So we're moving away from center front and adding to the piece to create positive ease. Okay, at this point, we're just going to use our ruler and our French curve to fill in. So I'm going to connect that shoulder corner to my neckline, and then use my French curve to fill in the rest of my arm's eye. Okay, so there is my finished front oversized, and then we would do the same thing with the back, so tracing off the back torso sloper and then doing the same alterations for our back piece.